Yes, today for discussion, Mike North from First Capital Ag, and Mike Hogan from Stuart Peterson, and Mark Gold from Top Third Ag Marketing. Gentlemen, the question I'm going to ask you is going to be real simple. What are the things that producers should be thinking about and facing the rest of the 2010 growing season?
Well, I think first of all, we're going to be looking at unprecedented volatility. And that's going to come from Europe, it's going to come from China, it's going to come from our own growing season and the challenges that the farmers will face this year. And trying to take some of that emotion and volatility, I believe, will be one of the biggest challenges farmers will face this year.
Okay, let's go on over and get your ideas, what they are. Who wants to be first? You can be first.
I'll go. I think what Mark said is very prudent. There's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 different directions that this thing can go. And I think the key to it is, as you're an American farmer, is do we want to try to outguess where this is? Is China going to be the big news? Is it going to be the European debacle that's the big news? That leaves a lot up for how your pricing of crops can go down this year. I think it's more important to be prepared for whatever the market does than try to outguess where the market's going. I think putting strategies together in that manner is going to be more helpful, more beneficial to the American farmer than anything else we could talk about.
When you're 3 out of 3 on discussion, Mike, you can take what they said and decide what is the biggest thing.
Well, I'll back cleanup. I'd like to dovetail into what Mark had to say. You know, volatility is going to be a very, very big player in this year's market. And we started the year from last year's really late delayed harvest, and consequently that led into a very late financing season. A lot of guys got their operating notes as they were putting the planters in the ground. I mean, there was a lot of things that really got backed up, and so cash flows got out of whack, and things really got skewed from their norm. And bottom line is, as we go into this year, there's a lot of guys that have their cost of production kind of up in the air until we get things more ironed out. And this volatility thing is really going to present some hazards for them to make 2010 a profitable one if they don't stop right now and take a look at what they have. And we've been telling guys for months now that you need to take a real hard look at where we're at, because quite frankly, even if you haven't gotten things ironed out, given all the things that are going on this year, there's plenty of risk that could lead them into a very disastrous situation this fall.
What should producers be doing based on the things that you said that are the big problems?
Well, I've always been a proponent of options, and we want to look at using an option as an insurance policy. We don't know whether we're going to get the good Chinese news, whether we're going to get the bad news in terms of Europe. Is there going to be a drought? Isn't there going to be a drought? So let's do some marketing out there. You guys know that you're going to be able to grow a big crop out there. The question is, can you price it? And as far as I'm concerned, let's just, if you do nothing else out there this year, protect the downside and let's see where this upside can go. Spend some money. You guys will spend $300, $400 an acre to grow a crop. How much are you spending per acre to marketing a crop? And my guess is for most of you it's zero. So you've got to learn to spend some money on the marketing side and put that in as a cost. Nobody wants you to have more costs, but when those costs can bring you back 3 to 4 times the expense, it's worth every penny of it.
Well, the name of the game is profit. You got to know how much to cover before you can cover it. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Well, the key thing when you look at marketing the crop is how much coverage do you need? How does it work out? You can map those scenarios out ahead of time.
On paper.
On paper, you can absolutely do that. The market's going to go up or down or stay the same. It's 3 choices. And from that, you can map out a few areas on the downside, a few areas on the top side, and say, if I've got 50% of my crop sold, what does that do on the downside? What does that mean on the upside? If I don't like the downside numbers, go with strategy maybe like Mark. Grab some additional options. Do you need the next 50%? Maybe the numbers work out, you only need 30% more. Figure those things out and get yourself protected.
Well, Mark and I spent a lot of years traveling the countryside taking that very message out, about getting protection in place. And alongside that, I think the other thing that we need to look at, we saw, very recently some very big meltdowns in the stock market. We've seen some very, very volatile price movements in the soybeans. We've seen, a lot of crisis type of situations unfolding around the world. The bottom line is we're not immune from that in the agricultural sector. Alongside this protection thing, you need to be also looking at opportunities to make physical sales of product, and having a plan in place to go alongside with that protection, because I'm a big advocate of protection. I, like Mark, believe very heavily in the put options and having downside coverage in place. We also need to take that to the cash sale side of things and be ready to actually part with some of that product. You need to make some sales. You don't grow it just to pet the bins. You got to get some sales actually made.
I think one point we need to make, though, we're talking to crop farmers. Everybody's thinking of crops. That's also true of livestock. True or not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you've had some great livestock prices out here. One of the things I've been talking about, it seems like the cattle market has been following the Dow Jones as much as anything else, making new highs as the Dow was coming back. Now we've had this shakeout in the Dow. You still have cattle prices, cash cattle, 95 to $100 in that range. There's an awful lot of risk on the downside, particularly if the economy gets shaky.
So take advantage of those prices whenever they're there and they're favorable for you, all right? Thanks.